Well, I got my first YouTube video online, so I'm encouraged to make another video in order to encourage subscribers to subscribe to a channel that's full of content. What I basically do is I talk about universal basic income, one of my favorite subjects. I read a lot about universal basic income and I Google a lot of information about universal basic income. I am a presidential candidate that wants to turn the 2020 presidential election of the United States into a referendum on universal basic income. We have 2 years to do this, so the least I can do in such an ambitious pipe dream is to at least push out video content that explains that universal basic income is doable. Universal basic income requires a countrywide experiment. America being such a model for the rest of the world, this would be a good opportunity to use the next 2 years to drum up support for universal basic income and give the world a chance to see a countrywide experiment of universal basic income. To begin, I have read about Michael Tubbs, the mayor of Stockton, California, attempting to use a $500 stipend for at least $100 to begin with. Citizens of Stockton, California to begin universal basic income. We support that within the Triumph campaign, Jawad HaShem Hakeem 2020. But we believe that Michael Tubbs, if he allows, can use our assistance for the fact that we don't spend years or months on the design phase. The design is very simple for how universal basic income should be rolled out when it's not being doled out by the government, when it's not using taxpayer money. The number one thing to do, and Chicago is attempting to do it with this universal basic income task force, the number one thing to do is the marketing and package of universal basic income has to become simple. And it's simple when it's presented as a job offer. All the criticism of universal basic income is that you're basically giving free money and people don't have to work. The Triumph campaign has the ability to hire campaign staffers. Our mission is to spread universal basic income and the implementation and the ease of implementation around America. And we have the ability to hire campaign staffers. So for Stockton, California, with Mayor Michael Tubbs, we will basically come in and do a jobs hiring launch, a massive jobs hiring launch. And everyone that pays into the UBI system will become a member of that job strategy to allow everyone to begin getting their $5,000 checks. And those checks are living wages, giving people purchasing power within Stockton, California, that allows UBI to be taken serious by the citizenry. Everyone knows that it's not a $500 shot in the arm. It's actually a $5,000 living wage that you can live on, and it doesn't require you to keep your job, although we don't ask anyone to leave their job. But what we're saying is $500 or $1,000 a month is not going to change anyone's life to give us a ability to spread universal basic income everywhere. It has to be something that's feasible, and $5,000 cannot be argued with, although people are going to ask constantly how is it going to be paid for. Remember, billionaires and those in Silicon Valley have already told the world that they're very much for universal basic income. So it's not so much the money's not there, it's more of the idea and the feasibility that everyone's looking for. So what we have done within the Triumph campaign of Jawad HaShem Hakeem 2020, we have come with a plan that allows all of this to be feasible, knowing that the number one thing that people have to do when they talk about universal basic income is stop thinking the government is going to do it. So for Stockton, California, which is a government entity, it is a municipality, it is a local government, what we will do is we will meet with the mayor, Michael Tubbs, and we will also meet with those in Silicon Valley, and we'll set up a system that those who are being hired within the campaign of Jawad HaShem Hakeem 2020 are going to be paid privately $5,000 a month from either public funds or private funds that are given for either the donations for the campaign for president or are actually paid into the private corporation that backs my campaign for presidency. So again, we are hiring people for jobs. We're hiring people for campaign staffers. Campaign staffers for my campaign get paid $5,000 a month, which is equal to the universal basic income. That way, we can take care of medical. We can take care of housing. We can take care of transportation. We can take care of all those other things that are going to come up. It's one thing to have money, but it's another thing to have the backup system that allows you to still live free. And again, that's what FDR was speaking about, being free from want. We have a universal Social Security, which was designed heavily on the FDR program. We have 7 principles of freedoms, and those 7 principles are free from need from transportation. So pretty much we'll make sure you have a vehicle. We'll make sure you have some sort of housing. We'll make sure you have medical. We'll make sure you have education. We'll make sure that you're able to get some sort of rebate on the high taxes we pay. Also, we'll make sure that you definitely have the job, which is campaign staffer. And also, we want to make sure that you have some sort of assurance system that's not necessarily insurance, because insurance is specific for a particular category of that it's benefits that are taken care of. But we look at all the various things that can derail you when you're trying your best to be able to lift yourself up. Even when a family member gets arrested and is put in jail and you require bond money, that's not necessarily going to come from an insurance provider, but within the 7 principles or Circle 7 of Universal Social Security, which is part of the Triumph Campaign's implementation of universal basic income. So ours, universal basic income, lies flat without a body, and that body is universal Social Security. When everyone is getting that universally, whether it's a billionaire, whether it's a millionaire, whether it's a crack addict, when everyone is universally getting the same amount, it produces equality within the systems, within the classes. And it produces what we call United People Party, and United People Party being UPP. We believe that the Republican and Democratic Party have run its course, and it's time for a new party for the 21st century, a party that concerns itself with universal basic income, concerns itself with eradicating poverty, concerns itself with eradicating racism and class wars. And so we all need to be part of one collective union so we can get more into collaborative systems or collaborative consumption. We have the future in our hands, and we have to reinvent government. We have to reinvent our ideas, or how government takes care of the people. And I choose to be a candidate that, whether someone votes for me or not, at least the ideas of the Triumph campaign are something that disseminates throughout the population. Universal basic income's time has come. You've watched a lot of newsreels about that. You've watched a lot of videos on YouTube. You've read a lot of magazines. You've seen a lot of newspapers. You've heard what's going around the world. Universal basic income is the only way to solve the problem of capitalism committing suicide upon itself. When the people have less purchasing power, they cannot feed into the businesses and products that are available. So we don't mind the robots coming. Because we believe in the system called Invent the Future. And inventing the future, universal basic income is needed. We applaud what Michael Tubbs is doing in Stockton, California. We applaud that Rahm Emanuel, although he doesn't want to seek a new term, still created a universal basic income task force. We are of the Triumph campaign. I'm going to be pushing out these videos. They're going to start raw. As you can see, there's no trapping, there's no pretense. We know we have the answer, and the answer for the worldwide universal basic income movement basically is UBI plus USS equals UPP. Universal basic income requires universal Social Security, which will give the world United People Party, where instead of us fighting about politics, that we're all one, we're one Earth Federation, we're one global movement, we're one people. And I support heavily the global citizen movement. We have to look at ways to solve global challenges in our world, and political territories are basically making a nuisance of worldwide efforts to lift everyone up and give everyone a fair chance. So I'm making this second video encouraged about the first. Not worried about how many people view, not worried about how many people subscribe. I need to take the answer out of the basement of the South of hegemonic power and bring it using a horizontal tool and a horizontal platform as YouTube to bring it back to the North, to let people know, whether they're in newspapers or wherever they may be in their shiny towers, that in fact the answer to how universal basic income is going to be implemented, that genius has come from the South. That genius has come from amongst the poor. And I am an advocate and presidential candidate for those of the 99%. And I'm not trying to do anything that takes the realness of how universal basic income should be displayed. This is not a politician's answer. This is the people's answer. All right, the $500 is not going to change anyone's life. $1,000 coming from government with VAT taxes is not going to work. It's convoluted. We need something that could work now, and universal basic income can be implemented now. And we of the Triumph campaign of Jawad HaShem Hakeem 2020 would love to use Stockton, California as a test run example, or Chicago, Illinois. Thank you.